Have fun, buddy, but I won't be there having it with you. How long you going to stay out? Until about dark, probably.
He should have expected this. Kodak was a horned dog, pure and simple. He'd have thought about getting his rocks off even before putting some decent food in his belly. Not that Morgan hadn't thought about getting his own rocks off, but that had come after food, and he hadn't gotten any further than the thought. There was another yawn.
I'll give it a pass this time. Catch you later.
The air went dead as Kodak disconnected. Morgan shrugged and slipped the phone back into his pocket. So he'd be fishing alone today. He didn't mind. Most times he preferred it. The sun, the wind, the water, the blessed solitude. It was great, especially when he was unwinding from a job. Within 5 minutes, he'd downed enough coffee to get him by, pulled on a shirt and some socks and boots, and was in his truck heading for the marina. Breakfast came from a fast food drive-thru, but hell, it wasn't as if he didn't eat crap most days of his life anyway. Besides, in his opinion, America had some great-tasting crap. If the fat police really wanted to complain about food, they should go to some of the shitholes he'd visited. After that, then maybe they'd have a deeper appreciation for tasty crap. The marina where he kept the shark was on the old run-down side and a fairly long stretch down the river. But he liked it because it was small, and he could keep better track of any new boats or any suspicious vehicles in the parking area. If he were able to get the boat out on anything resembling a regular schedule, he'd be able to keep better vigilance. But so far, he'd never had any trouble. No reason he should, just that habit was habit, and he had a talent for spotting vehicles that were out of the ordinary for their surroundings. Nothing stood out today, though he did take the precaution of driving up and down all the aisles before stopping. There were no vehicles parked facing out, and no rentals or anything else suspicious. He backed his truck into a parking slot, got out and locked it, then double-checked that it was locked. It was second nature. He double-checked everything when it came to security. As he stuck his key into the padlock on the security gate that blocked entrance to the docks, the marina owner, Brawley, stuck his head out of the shack 30 yards away and shouted,
"Been a while? Good day for fishing?" "Hope so,"
Morgan replied, raising his voice to cover the distance.
"You heading out to the bay?" "Don't think I'll go that far."
The Chesapeake was a good 40 miles down the Potomac. He'd use up most of his fishing time running there and back.
"Catch one for me,"
Brawley called, then ducked back inside the shack. Through the glass, Morgan watched him pick up the phone, an old-fashioned corded job that had probably been there since the day the marina was built, and cradle it on his shoulder as he dialed. You didn't see many of those phones these days. Morgan snapped the padlock closed again, then continued down the dock to the slip he rented under the name of Ivan Smith, which he'd chosen because the name amused him, Ivan being the Russian John. Hell, this was D.C. Probably half the population expected that the other half was using aliases. He scrutinized all the boats he passed, looking for anything unfamiliar. Not so much the boats themselves, though a small, out-of-the-way marina like this one tended to have a slower turnover rate than the bigger marinas. But equipment, such as an expensive radio array on a shit-can boat, or people who didn't quite fit in. Maybe their shoes were hard-soled, or maybe they were armed, anything like that. Nothing. The place was just as it should be. The smell of the river, the sound of the water lapping against the boats, the creak of the docks, the gentle bobbing of the boats. All of it soothed his soul, and he felt his permanent reservoir of tension emptying just a little. He'd definitely been born with an affinity for water. Once, noticing that he was doing something with his left hand, a teammate had asked him if he was ambidextrous, to which an instructor standing nearby had retorted,
"No, he's amphibious."
That was close to God's truth. Give him gills, and he'd have been a happy camper. He'd grown up around Pensacola, so he couldn't remember a time in his life when the ocean hadn't felt as if it were a part of him.